Hey there, and welcome to another episode of the Home Tech Podcast. Jason Griffin here. I am so happy to have you with me. I am not joined by my partner, Seth Johnson, this week. As anyone who has listened to the show for any period of time is aware, Seth lives down in Florida, and as a result of that is dealing with the aftermath of Hurricane Irma. I am very happy to report, first of all, that he and his family came through the storm just fine, and that also there was no major damage to his home, so we're really, really happy to hear that. However, he has been dealing with total power outages in the area, as have many, many people in the state of Florida and the surrounding areas, and as a result of that, is not available to join us this week for an episode. I can only imagine how unpleasant it is to be without power. They've been without for about, I think, 4 or 5 days now as I sit here and record this. In this time of year down in Florida, very, very warm, and I'm sure it is very, very difficult. So definitely keep Seth and his family in your thoughts as we move forward. I wanted to come on air this week and do a very abbreviated episode. First and foremost, to give you that update. If you listen to the show and you were maybe concerned or wondering how Seth was doing, that is the update there. I also want to mention very quickly that to compound challenges, I'm having some issues with my audio equipment here at my home. And so the audio quality is not quite what it normally is, not only because I'm using different equipment, but because Seth, hats off to him, does all of our post-production and audio editing and will not be putting his magic touch on this episode. But again, Seth and I have been texting, and I wanted to take a few minutes to get an episode out there. Obviously, this is a very busy time of year, and so we're looking forward to getting back together and putting a full-length episode out there. Of course, we are fresh off of CEDIA here, and there's a lot to talk about there, as well as a recent Apple event with a new iPhone and new Apple TV, amongst some other things. So plenty of news going on, and we are entering that busy time of year from here until the holidays. It's really going to be fast and furious. So we look forward to that. I will share couple of very brief high-level bullet points here on this episode. Definitely not going to get down into the weeds about CEDIA because I want to save that stuff for when Seth gets back. I know he's really looking forward to diving into that. So we'll talk about that a little bit. Before I get into CEDIA at all, I want to send a big thank you out to a couple of new patrons that came on board this week, Todd Harrion and Eric Hansen. Thank you both so much. They both came on at the $5 level. We also had a handful of people come on at the $1 level here in the last week or two, and we really, really appreciate that. So if you're interested in learning how you can support our efforts here at the Home Tech Podcast, head over to HomeTech.fm/support. Once again, that's HomeTech.fm/support, and that's a way that you can contribute to our efforts here at the podcast for as little as $1 a month. So one more time, HomeTech.fm/support, and thank you so much to everybody who has done that. And also, I always just like to mention that even at that $1 level, we will send you an invite to our private Slack channel, The Hub, which has become a really fun, great community of smart home, both professionals and enthusiasts in there, and really great dialogue going on in that Slack channel on a daily basis. So, we mentioned CEDIA here. Obviously, that's the big one in the home technology world right now. If you listen to the show, you are aware this, I mentioned on previous episodes, this was a different year for me, the experience of going as an exhibitor as opposed to an integrator for the very first time. So I definitely did not get a chance to walk the floor nearly as much as I normally do. I saw a little bit of it. Mostly what I saw was between the One Vision booth where I was working and the restrooms and concession stands. So didn't get to see a whole lot, but did get to see a little bit and had a great time nonetheless. We had a really great turnout at the One Vision booth. A lot of energy there. Had a lot of really great conversations with people, many of which were home tech supporters. Had a lot of home tech supporters come by the booth and say hi. And I also wanted to send a big thank you out to those of you who did that, as well as those of you who attended our Home Tech Happy Hour, which we hosted on, I believe that was Thursday, right after the show. We had a really good turnout for that, a lot of fun. Really, really great to finally get to meet a number of the supporters and people that I've seen in various email threads and over there on the hub that I mentioned earlier, and put some faces to names and shake hands. Had a lot of fun doing that. I also want to, speaking of the happy hour, send one last thank you to our friend Richard Berry of iHummingbird, who sponsored that happy hour. We really, really appreciate that. Richard, if you're listening, thank you so much. Also, I know Richard lives down in Florida, and there was some concern about him being in the path of the hurricane as well. I believe he had his family come out to San Diego, if I recall correctly, and so not sure where that stands, but definitely keep Richard in your thoughts as well. And Richard, if you're listening, shoot me an email and let me know how you're doing. Would love to hear from you. So again, we're going to keep this short. Really, just touch on a couple of things. One of the big themes, really the biggest theme that I saw at CEDIA this year was a continuation of this idea that we talked about starting, I think, 2 or maybe even 3 years ago. This idea of meeting in the middle, and CEDIA has traditionally been in years and even decades past has been a really a luxury segment of the market, and a luxury technology show. And we've seen this growing groundswell of DIY and more consumer-focused products on the show floor. But what we're really seeing is, I think, an increasing convergence and overlap. A great example of that is Amazon gave the keynote, which I unfortunately was not able to attend, but talking about their new custom home services. I'm not sure exactly how they're titling that, but we've been talking a lot about Amazon Home Services, and the news broke a couple of months ago that they were doing that in-house. They were, if you recall, partnering with Lennar builders to provide home technology, smart home services with in-house Amazon employees. Well, it turns out, even a company as big as Amazon, with the resources that they have, they know that not every customer is looking for the same type of system and the same type of experience. And so they've got this new system where they'll be putting CEDIA certified smart home installers as a partnership with CEDIA on their dealer finder. And again, I need to dive into that story, and really we'll dissect it more, I'm sure, once Seth is back. But I think the main takeaway there is big. It's big. It actually struck me as a bit of an underreported story coming out of CEDIA, and I think anyone in the home technology professional space should be paying very, very close attention to what Amazon is doing there. Lutron, another great example. Radio Raw Select is, we've talked numerous times about Lutron on the show, and I think they're one of the best companies out there at when it comes to putting out different product categories that satisfy different segments of the market. And this Radio Raw Select looks really, really cool. It kind of fits right in their product line there between Caseta and Radio Raw. So a little bit more functionality and horsepower than a Caseta system, but at a lower cost than what has typically been your cost of entry with a Radio Raw 2 system. They had a number of other really cool things. I thought Lutron had a very, very good showing this year, and I heard that from a number of other people as well. But once again, we'll dive into that here in the shows to come. End user empowerment, another idea, that ties back to the Lutron Radio Raw 2 or Raw 2 Select line. The idea of empowering end users to program and control like their own scenes and do a lot of that themselves. Control 4 also announced their when then engine, which I gotta say, I'm not a fan of the name, but a cool looking product nonetheless. It's basically if this then that for Control 4 systems, and obviously that is open to the end user for them to use as they see fit. And so I know that story I heard a number of people talking about, and I thought was pretty cool as well. Got to say, my one biggest single regret of the show that I have to own up to is not getting over to the Josh AI booth to check out their new micro solution. Alex, the founder of the company there, is a supporter of the show, and I want to congratulate him on their Best New Product award that they won for that product. I can say that I heard a number of people who did go look at it say that it was absolutely beautiful and looked very well executed. So I definitely look forward to learning more about that. I think that was a big story in the voice control area, and to see, again, I think this ties back to that idea of meeting in the middle. You've got companies like Amazon coming up market to work with CEDIA integrators, and you've got a company like Josh AI, which is very much coming at the market from a top-down perspective, putting out this product to really meet a lower price point. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Sony's 4K projector, true 4K projector at $5,000 was a big story. I heard a lot of people talking about. Another great example there of that idea of meeting in the middle. So those are a few of the bigger stories that I saw. There's a lot more there, and we'll jump in and start peeling back some of the layers on that. Of course, we did have the Apple event this week. They've got a new iPhone, the iPhone 10. I'm told it's pronounced, not the iPhone X. If anybody out there knows what happened to the iPhone 9, I'm very curious. I didn't get a chance to watch, and if that's been addressed in the press, I haven't read it, but they jumped right from the 8 to the iPhone 10. This thing looks like a beautiful phone. Not going to dive too much into that. We're really not a smartphone show here, but I'm sure you've all, if you're listening to this show, odds are you've seen it. Looks like very nice product, and I know that I'll be due for an iPhone upgrade here in not too long, and so I've definitely got my eyes on that. And then, of course, the bigger thing I would say for fans of the show or listeners to the Home Tech podcast would be the new Apple TV 4K. No surprise there. We've been hearing rumors of that for a while. Came out at $179. What I have seen so far is it looks like Apple will be selling that 4K content for the same price as their HD content on the iTunes store, which is a good thing. Definitely good for the market, and hopefully we'll see more production of that 4K and HDR content. By the way, I should mention it does support HDR as well. So a lot of stuff going on again in the news, and we do look forward to getting back to our full-length, regularly scheduled programming very soon. But want to thank you for tuning in for this very abbreviated episode, and once again, a big thank you to everybody who's become a patron of the show. If you're interested in learning more about that, one last time, it's HomeTech.fm/support. And if you've got any feedback or comments for us, a great way to reach us is on Twitter at HomeTech Podcast. That's at HomeTech Podcast. So once again, Jason Griffin here. Really appreciate you tuning in, and we'll look forward to getting another episode out very soon. Thanks so much for listening.